Welcome to 28 Days and Beyond.
The show where we talk about our history, our heritage, and our culture.
I'm Amari.
I'm Charisma. Hello.
Hello.
Bonjour.
Yeah, that's it. How do we talk about education a lot on this show?
Yes, we do.
Yeah. One of the things that is really interesting. It's really interesting. Word association.
Okay.
All
Are
right?
we doing this again?
Yeah, let's do word association.
You didn't even prep me. It's just like...
That's that way we get a raw response. Word association, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Shoes.
Me. Lots of them.
Cars.
Fast.
Big buildings.
Architecture?
HBCU.
Howard.
Today we're talking about HBCU. Or the perception,
like, where are we going with this?
or the perception of sending your child or choosing to attend an HBCU yourself. And this is somewhat of a timely discussion because we have seen a resurgence in interest in HBCU over the past several years, particularly because of things like outward racism,
yes.
Racial discrimination, hostile environments on non-HBCU campuses. What are your thoughts on the matter?
I mean, I feel like it's a very personal choice. Did you go to HBCU?
I did not.
Where'd you go?
A different school.
Okay. Apparently we're being secretive on 28 Days and Beyond. Okay. I didn't go to a HBCU either,
Yeah.
but I fully support it. I've
Right.
had family that was like all for it and did it generationally.
Yeah.
You know, or it was like, they went to a HBCU, their children are going to HBCU, their grandchildren. I'm all for black people feeling like they're empowering themselves and bettering their education at a place where they feel safe and seen and around people that look like them and reflect them.
Yeah. When I was making my decision, my original choice was an HBCU.
Okay.
And I remember telling people I'm interested in going to Morehouse, and they were like, why would you do that? Because I want to be around black people. They said, that's not the real world, okay? That's not going to prepare you for the real world. Now, what's interesting is, statistically speaking, HBCUs produce the highest level of black professionals in all fields, whether it be PhDs, doctors, nurses, right? The highest percentage of those fields are coming from HBCUs. So today we'll be talking with Darryl Ridgeway, who is an HBCU alum himself, but also a parent who's trying to make a decision or participate in the decision of his child. We'll be back with 28 Days and Beyond.
Welcome back to 28 Days and Beyond. We are now joined by Darryl Ridgeway. Hi.
Hello, how are you?
How's it going?
It's going great.
Let me ask you a question off top. HBCUs are not the real world. How do you feel about that?
I love that question because my daughter's in 11th grade right now. She went to a private school since pre-K, a PWI school, predominantly white institution, and she's getting an awesome education.
Okay.
So now my wife and I are at this crossroads of figuring out what else do we want to pour into her glass. And I've been having conversations with a lot of parents that are in the same school, and it amazes me how our cultural trip is the first thing we cash in when it comes to education.
Tell us more.
Well, we strive for education. We strive for the paper. At the end of the day, this is America. You have to have the right paper. That's the bottom line. That's why you want your kids to go to a good school. That's why you don't send your kids to, unfortunately, you can't send your kids to public school because the system is rigged for your kid to fail. So you know that, so what do? What position do you put your kid in? So you have to go outside of your own community to get a good education. So they land in private school. So now they're in this private school from pre-K through 12. My daughter was one of two at pre-K. By the time she was in 11th, 12th grade, 6. And that was a lot. And so the perception is that you're always in this educational corner, right? And you're there. You're used to a corner. You're not used to life. Like people say, well, when you go to HBCU, that's not real. To who?
Yeah, right. To who?
Yeah.
To who?
Yeah.
It's like me saying, well, everybody around here in Villanova in this neighborhood, it's not real.
Yeah.
It's real to them.
It is that.
That is
yeah.
real to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do we say that it's not real to us?
Yeah.
You know, like places like PG County.
Right.
You know, that's real.
Yeah.
I got a fraternity guard that lives there.
Yeah.
You know, so it's our perception of what we want to delve or put into our kids.
So what was it that really factored into you making the choice to go to an HBCU?
Well, here's the funny thing. So my mom was from media. She met my father when she was a graduate at or a graduate program at America U. I was born in D.C. We moved to Pennsylvania, then moved to Delaware. I couldn't go to school in Delaware because the school system was crazy. So my mom sent me back to media to her sister, basically gave up her parental rights for me to go to have a good education at Nether Providence, Wallingford Swarthmore School District. So she gave up her rights for me to have a good education. And that was a great public school. Then she did the next thing. She filled out the application. She wrote the essay for me to go to Lincoln. I was going to go to Penn State. This was my dream. My dream was to go to Penn State, wrestle, and walk on and play for Joe Paterno. Glad I didn't get into that.
Yeah, oh, you dodged the bullet.
Glad I didn't get in. And see, but that was my perception of my life is going to be better if I did that.
Yeah.
And just think about what I dodged the bullet.
Yeah.
Here I go to Lincoln. Parents go, drop me off. Man, I cried like a baby. I didn't want to be there at all. I did not want to be there at all. It didn't hit me to my sophomore year where these group of African guys that were from all over the continent. They were our soccer guys. So we didn't have a football team back then. It was soccer. And I'm making friends and talking to these guys. One of the guys, his family name is on the currency of the country. I mean, just let that sink in.
When I said the boy got his own money.
He got his own money.
Instead of coming to America, seriously.
Well, Darryl, hold that thought because we actually have to take a little bit of a break. And
Okay.
we can ponder that some more. We'll be back with more 28 Days and Beyond right after this.
And we're back with 28 Days and Beyond. We're here with Darryl Ridgeway. So before the break, you were talking about your friend in college who had his own money.
His
Right.
own money.
And so the perception of that and being around that, being able to go out, open my my dorm, and not put that monkey on my back every day. Not going and say, like, okay, you know, this person's good, this person's not good. What is their angle? Like, what's your angle?
Right.
Like, do you really want to be my friend, or you know, and behind the scenes, are you calling me a name? You know what I mean? So I went to Lincoln. It was the first time I experienced us on a higher educational level. Everybody. Everybody.
Yeah.
How did that feel for you?
Well, it empowered me. It empowered me and it allowed me to go into corporate America, be in, like today, to be in these high multi-million-dollar deals and know who I am as a person. And not figure out, like, you know, I went somewhere else, and they had a little corner for me, and being accepted or being, you know, take that corner as, okay, it's my corner. Thank you for allowing me to have this corner.
But that's I think, an important observation that is often overlooked. But as I was saying, I think a lot more people are coming to understand that the psychological burden, the emotional labor that's required by being, you know, in these, you know, majority white spaces, is dramatically different. There are things you don't have to worry about. There are things you don't have to think about when you're at a place where everyone looks like you, where everyone, you know, from the professors to the staff members, when everyone looks like you. But I think another important aspect of it that I've heard you alluding to is people say we go to these colleges, they want to go to Harvard or Yale because of the networks. But statistically, they say that black students don't get entrance to those networks. They don't take advantage of those networks.
We don't need them.
But at HBCU,
we don't need
at
them.
HBCU, but you have people
like
you mentioned earlier, your frat brother,
I
this,
don't
that, and the
need
third.
their network. I'm an alpha.
That's what I'm saying. So you
I'm a
were able to
Mason.
create your own.
I have my own network.
That's what I'm
so
saying.
the thing is that we always try to get into somebody else's network.
Exactly.
When we have such a rich network within ourselves.
Yeah.
I don't need that.
But do you feel like, and this is a conversation we've had too, with us in networking, do you feel like there's ever, or did you experience personally ever a point where you felt like you had to try harder to gain entrance? And by that I mean a lot of times with us, at least I've experienced this whole I want to be the only one mentality, because it's always so competitive within our community. Like there's only room for so much. That mentality has kind of been put out there. So sometimes I feel like within our own networks, we're not always as willing to reach back and say, come be a part of this.
Well, that's interesting because I think that's how you're raised. So my father, I wasn't allowed to buy anything from any store if a woman wasn't hired or I didn't see somebody that looked like me.
That's incredible.
So I went and bought these sneakers at this store. You know, Jordans. I had to get my Jordans, and it was a non-African American owned store. They didn't have any women. They didn't hire any women, and it was all non-African Americans there. Everybody goes to this sporting goods store. My father, as soon as I got them, he said, "Where'd you get them from?" I said, "I got them from this place."
Yeah.
He said, "Give them to me." When he put me in the car, drove me back, threw his sneakers in the guy's face, said, give my son his money back. He said, until you hire somebody that looked like him or until you hire a woman, no. His money is no good here. And the guy was like, well, we'll give him extra person with it. It's like, no. Give him his money back and go.
That's powerful.
And I got up. I can't say what happened after that. But what it did was shape me to understand the value that who I am as a person. And, I have a lot of women in my family. The majority of my family are women. I have a lot of women cousins versus male cousins. And so that level of respect for women was instilled in me through my father early on. So when you ask that question, it's really about how you're raised and then what you take from that and go on to the next level.
I agree.
I agree.
Darryl, we appreciate you coming through and talking about this. I mean, you're really raising a lot of issues that extend just beyond, because it's not just about, what is the college that I'm choosing to go to. There are so many other things that factor into that.
It's way beyond what college is, because, we knew, just real quick, I'm sorry, we knew real quick that Episcopal Academy was a buzzsaw. We knew we were throwing our kid into that buzzsaw, and we accepted that. But we also knew that I was going to be into that, and that this is the next journey. And the next part of putting in her in that cup is this part. Finding out who our culture is, being around her culture, being empowered. You alluded to about the colleges, all the HBCUs. They do put out more than any of the other non-HBCUs as far as our community. And the misperception is that it doesn't happen. My college roommate, he convinced his sister to come to Lincoln to go through the same laser engineering program. So she went from Lincoln to Harvard to NASA. Oh, the perception is that HBCUs are 13th grade.
Well, we thank you for coming on here and telling us.
And clarifying that. So, man, good luck with your process.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We'll
be back with more 28 Days.
You owe me a coat.
Always in my mind.
You owe me. We'll be back with more 28 Days and Beyond right after this.
Welcome back to 28 Days and Beyond. Charisma.
Yes.
There's a quote by W.E.B. Du Bois, and he said that the teachers at Harvard were no better than the teachers at Fisk, just better known.
That's, wow. Yeah.
And I think because a lot, at the end of that segment, Darryl was saying, a lot of people look at HBCUs like 13th grade.
Yeah.
And that's not.
I mean, but that's done, intentionally, right?
Yeah.
If we know that, we are able to get the same level of education or better, for that matter, at HBCUs, you would have more people going to HBCUs instead of flocking to try to get into Harvard or Yale or, you know, any of the Ivy League schools that they think are going to garner them more work or opportunities after they graduate. Because that's what it's all about anyway, right? You go to you go to college or university because you're hoping that whatever information that you're able to learn while you're there will then be able to render a career so that you can take care of yourself and eventually a family or whatever you
That's
decide
what they
to do.
say. I still am of the inclination that colleges are becoming obsolete.
How so?
Well, one, you see, if you look at the sort of social stratification, the sort of elites are not going to college, right? They're going to travel the world.
They don't have to.
But see, even that though. So if you're saying that they don't have to, why don't they have to? Because
they already have access to wealth. That's why people are.
But if college didn't get them access to wealth, how do we expect that us going to college is going to get us access to wealth? You see what I'm saying?
I mean, but we're talking about people, a lot of times, if we're talking about the elites, we're talking about generational wealth. So if my father has more money than me, my grandkids, and my great-grands can spend in a lifetime, I don't have to go through the same channels that someone who is not afforded those same opportunities has to go through.
Right, but if it's generational wealth, which much of it is, tied to some form or fashion, the exploitation of someone's labor, right? College wasn't what got them wealth. So if and this is to say that if the end goal is we're going to college so we can get jobs so that we can get wealthy, I'm saying that that's a flawed chain of analysis.
I agree.
Now, if we're looking to it for other things, right? I mean, my thing is, I've always said, you know, if my children want to go to school, it's going to be paid for, because we're not paying for it, and it would be primarily for the social experience, not the educational experience. And I think that a lot of what Darryl was saying was there is the education in the sense of classes, reading, writing, arithmetic, but there's also the education in terms of the experience, right? How are you learning about the world around you?
Absolutely accurate.
And I think in that sense it will be invaluable. But even more than that, I think it's important that, as Darryl was saying, that it be in an environment where you are empowered, not where you are disempowered.
I grew up a lot in school, I have to say. I learned a lot and I grew up a lot. So.
Became an adult, huh? Got your wings.
I mean, adulting is a thing, so I don't know if I'm quite ready yet.
This has been another episode of 28 Days and Beyond,
where we talk about our history, our heritage, and our culture. We'll see you next time.
Peace.